There he is, my man. Looking good, bro.
Good to see you.
What's happening? I love the tree in the background. I got this. Yeah, I couldn't find the one with in Rec Hall with us and your big old quaff.
Yo, just for you. Just for you, baby.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. But that's the style, bro. First things first, how's the family? How's Corey? How are the boys? What's up? Give me updates.
Man, life is good. So Corey and I have been married 19 years.
Wow. And she doesn't even get a hazard pay for that.
But I had to come back to Texas to find my wife.
Right.
So we've been married 19 years. My older son, Jonah, is now 14.
Wow.
He's in middle school. And my younger guy, Finn, is 12. He is also now in middle school. And I still have a job. So
the sports, what are they? I know they were doing basketball, soccer, football. What do we got?
Yeah, so they both Jonah is a big boy, so he plays football and basketball. Finn, multi-sport, so he plays football, basketball, and lacrosse. I'd like to keep them doing that, but they're now starting to have the sniff for the pill. Basketball is becoming their sport. I got to coach them all the way. So from kindergarten through 6th grade, I told them if they wanted me to coach, I'd do it. They had the right of refusal every year, but
right.
they took me up on it. And this is my last season. So it will be 12 seasons I coached youth basketball. And this is my final run. And I think I've got a national championship squad, bro.
Oh, have you been doing some recruiting? Hey, I ask Hovass this all the time. Do you find yourself, since you're coaching, do you find yourself using anything that you like Coach would say to us or Coach would say to you, or any of the philosophies he had?
Of course. I mean, you learn that by forced osmosis. Let's see. I think I've used mamby-pamby. I used that one a couple times. But do you know what I always say? And I'd like to think I learned this from him. But do you remember, man, it didn't matter who we were playing. If we were in the game with a minute left, whether it was Temple, who was number one, or man, we always had a shot to win.
We always had a play. He always had a play for us. Always had to play for us.
If you remember, we always remember the scowls and all that stuff. But I always remember when it was a tight game and it was a game we weren't supposed to win, and Coach would go do his thing and he'd come into the huddle and he'd look at us in such a different way, like, dude, we got this. Yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
I tell you, one thing I learned about youth sports is it's okay to show your emotion. Number one, the thing I started doing toward the last couple of years is before every practice and every game, I go up to each kid and tell them I love them.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
The impact that it has on them just to hear that. And, although Coach didn't say it very much, we knew he did.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's quite a few things I've taken away.
Well, before we get to Penn State and all that, just give a little background. What are you doing now? What have you been doing since you've been a professional? Which I know the answer to, but maybe Penn State fans don't.
You're flattering me with professional. So after school, I did a little sales. So this was not a math mind. If I was going to get anywhere in life, I was going to use this. So I had a couple sales jobs, and when I was 27 and I didn't want to know what I wanted to do with my life, I wasn't married yet and everything, I decided to go get my MBA. And during that time, I worked for my father part-time, who started a recruiting firm 35 years ago. So the rest is history. 25 years ago, I started working with him. We have a small little engine that recruiting firm here down in Texas. And it's my spot, man. I love people. I think my gifting is people. So
what do you specialize recruiting wise?
That's the beauty of how my dad set it up. We're not specialist based. It's relationship based. So we don't care what companies do. we got to jive with them. I got to represent them with a smile. So we find companies that we can believe in, and then we learn about their business. Right. Inside and out, but more the people. So we travel to their facilities, get to know. It's like recruiting trips. I go to these customer sites, and if I see a bunch of clowns, I'm like, I don't want to represent this. So, but the ones where you get that relationship going, we tend to work with over a protracted period of time. So we get to know them and know the types of folks and personalities that work in there. Like, I'm a white collar pimp, man. Serious. If you think about it, the companies are the Johns. They come to me, they say, hey, I want a bachelor's degree with chemistry, these years of experience. I want them to look like this, if you will.
Right.
I line up 3 to 5. They pick, and I get paid.
I love it. I think that analogy, I don't think you could come up with a better analogy. I've never heard that, but that's beautiful.
Yeah. Just tell everybody I'm a white collar pimp.
You're a white collar pimp. So the journey from Dallas, Texas to the Pennsylvania State University, give us the story on that, because I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, I didn't get recruited to play basketball. I got one letter from the University of Dallas, and I didn't want to go there. I was more recruited to play small schools football. I got a few scholarships. Penn came and looked at me. I had some Northeast schools that looked at me, but if people don't know the history, my mom and dad went to Penn State. My dad played quarterback. My mom was a cheerleader. Well, I always had it in my mind that I wanted to be a Penn Stater, and my goal was to get in. So they accepted.
Don't gloss over the fact that your dad was Joe's first starting quarterback, wasn't he?
Correct.
Bear. Tell Bear I said hello, by the way.
I will. I just saw him a couple days ago, and he's still wound up tight. But I was accepted on a summer status, and I just thought, I want to go to Penn State. I got accepted. What the hell? I'll try out for the basketball team if I get there, whatever. And if I don't make it, I'll join a fraternity. So the moons of Jupiter aligned. Some may call it fate. I call it God. Dan McKenna was in my Ewing Hall of summer classes, and the dude was 7 feet tall. I'm like, that's a big dude. I went and introduced myself. He's like, yeah, I'm on the basketball team. And I said, where do you guys play pickup? And he said, well, we're at the IM building. He goes, I just showed up, and there were 7 guys there, so they needed players, and I played in one pickup game, and the moons of Jupiter aligned, and they said, hey, why don't you keep coming back? And that kind of started, I think. I was talking to a buddy of mine, a mentor of mine. What was huge for me at Penn State was relationships. Like, Dan McKenna was a relationship that got me to play pickup. The guys, I got to be friends with them in the summer. So when I went and tried out, they knew who I was. When Coach Parkhill wanted to kick me off the team my freshman year, I had Dave Deggetts and Monnie Brown and Fred. They were my friends. They were my relationships. So, it really started there. And I walked on, I tried out, but I got some help along the way. My father reached out to Joe when I was going to try out, and he said, hey, just wanted to catch up with you, let you know my kid's up there. He's going to try out for the basketball team. And I still have the copy of the letter, because that's what Joe did. He sent a carbon copy to your residence. Cool. And it was great, because he didn't force Parkhill. Like, hey, he just said, hey, there's this kid going to try out for your team. If he works hard like his dad, you might give him a look or something like that. Right. And, and then I was one of 2 that they picked for the last 2 weeks. They said, hey, we're going to take you 2 to practice with the team for 2 weeks, and whoever's left standing at the end of 2 weeks will make the team. Well, it took 2 days, and the other kid came up and shook my hand in the locker room. He's like, I ain't cut out for this. So they had no choice. They had to take me.
So it was a little bit rocky, and you always talk about this, but it was kind of like it flipped the switch, or the light bulb came on, or it was a turning point for the positive, although it was a negative, where Coach may have invited you to take a break from practice, otherwise known as getting kicked out.
I think I got it twice. So my freshman year, first of all, I didn't know what I was getting into.
Right.
College basketball is a business, man, and you learn that pretty quick. But I still had a high school frame of mind, and I was pledging a fraternity.
That's
And
insane to me. I don't know, because both of those are like being in a battle. So you're waging two battles.
Well, bro, I got kicked out of a film meeting because, I hadn't slept in a week because I was pledging this house. And I think I had pneumonia because I'm in there. I could not stop coughing in the films. And man, Parkhill just kept looking back like this. And then he goes, "Oh, get out of here." Just like that. I got thrown out of a film session and a practice because I wasn't quite mature. I hadn't matured yet. And at the end of my freshman year, that's when, I don't know if you knew this story, but at the end of the year, we do meetings.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I knew Coach hated me. And I was like,
it's kind of a strong word. You probably frustrated the hell out of him because you were so athletic and so talented, and it probably seemed like you weren't committed or taking it seriously or something.
Of course not. And hate's a strong word, but I would have hated me. But so the relationships, this is kind of where it comes into play. So I'm asking everybody, what happens in this year-end meeting? How long does it last and all this stuff? And Coach or Freddie, they were like, it's usually an hour and a half, 2 hours. You talk about the season where you can improve all that. And I'm like, all right, I got this. So I'm the last one. I go up there and mine lasted 3 minutes. And Coach Parkhill sat in his chair and just like this in his office, and he's staring at me. It felt like for 20 minutes. It was probably 2 minutes. And he looked at me and he goes, "Steve, you could have played Division III this year." He goes, "Division II?" You could see him doing that.
This was a pep talk.
Yep. And he said, "I don't know if you have a spot on the team next year because you're going to have to go home and show me you want to play."
Right.
And so after that, I was the last individual meeting. Then the captains came in. I didn't learn this until years later, but Dave Deggetts and Monnie Brown and Freddie Barnes, when Coach was going through all the teammates, they were like, I want to get rid of this Wydman guy. I need to drain all this stuff. And they listened. And I think Deggetts went, "You know what, Coach, we understand what you're saying." He goes, "But he really makes the locker room a lot easier," because I was a knucklehead. Well, it's relationships. So that seed was planted. Now, I'm a late bloomer, dude. I went home that summer and I thought I lost one of the best opportunities I've ever had. I was up every morning at 7 a.m. going to the gym, and I went through puberty again. I gained 30 pounds when I came back to school. And when they did roll call, Pam came down and, "Hey, I want to make sure," she didn't call my name. And so I went, "Hey, Pam, you didn't call my name." She goes, "Oh, let me go talk to Coach." She goes upstairs, and then they sent Mike, the manager, down and said, "Coach will let you practice with the team in the preseason." That's all I needed, dude. I was in the best shape of my life. Right. So I won every race. I showed up to every workout session, all that. And Chip, the trainer, relationships. Coach went to him and said, "Tell me about what he's doing." And Chip said, "Hey, he's encouraging other guys. He's working hard." And they let me play. And then
so it was very intentional for me I've interviewed Hovass, and I'm going to try to get to as many guys because I always talk to most of the guys, and I thought people would be interested in what guys are doing. And you were one of the first on the list because I think your story, not just interesting, but I think it will inspire other kids who are up against it, or kids who think that they're working hard and maybe not. And even though, Coach was a taskmaster, it's exactly what you needed. And you were willing to take that in and accept it. And, like to see you guys together now that's what it's supposed to be about, like college basketball. So I appreciate you sharing that story because number one, a lot of people don't get the behind the scenes look. And walk-ons, like me personally, we had two walk-ons my freshman year, which was Christian Appleman and Wes Jones, and they both ended up getting starting
guys,
time.
Man,
Yeah. And I just had so much respect for him because, like I had a reason to be there because I was getting books in school paid for, but you guys weren't getting that. And it's not like a cakewalk every day to be grinding. No matter who the coach is and no matter what team is, if you're walking on, that's a certain kind of commitment. And then you had a guy who I think probably elevated your game on a daily basis named Monnie Brown.
Did you watch, man, it's interesting. Yesterday, I don't know if you watched any of the college football games.
I did. Watch both.
There was a quarterback for Tennessee.
Yeah.
God, that dude looked just like I was sitting on the couch looking at him on the bench. I'm like, that guy looks just like Money.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing.
So Monnie Brown, he had to grow to like me as well. But
your self-awareness is so healthy.
Yeah, dude, it took a while, but he loved me. I know at the end of we were playing, he loved me. He told me I loved him, but everything that Monnie Brown was on the court in a game, he brought every day in practice. Like, that's why he's one of the best players that ever went through Penn State. He never took a day off. I think there was one day, because that's how I got my nickname, that I just was crushing him on the court. He couldn't do anything because I bet he was out till 4 a.m. and but
real tired.
But
or online. He might have been online or something.
Yeah. But dude, that guy, work ethic, wanting to get better. He would encourage me to beat him up because he knew he was going to get beat up on the court. But there was no better guy to follow him and Dave Deggets. Deggets, and you took. That's the other thing I got to say about Penn State sports, at least when I was there, because I know Wes and I know Christian, and I didn't play with them. And I know Pete Lasicki and all these guys on the other end of the spectrum, because the older guys always brought us in. You were amazing at this. Dave Deggets was amazing at this. Like, Dave helped me with diet and workout and what you need to do. Money every day on the court had expectations of me to make him better. And dude, you just made life easier because you were.
I was in grad school, actually. Yeah, I just missed playing with you because I was still there in grad school.
Yeah, but you encouraged me like no other. Like that to me was, we had leaders that really led, that led through encouragement and wanting us to get better. They, we were invited to everything. I hear about other college that they were like, you hung out with the older generation, and it's like, yeah, we all got along. They supported us. They wanted us to come along. So that's just a special thing about Penn State. But it was guys like you and Deggets and Money that, when I was there, created that groundwork.
Yeah, it's not that I took it for granted, but I kind of assumed that it was like that with many other schools, but I keep hearing it wasn't. But for Money, his freshman year, it was my senior year. And I distinctly remember him asking me to, beat him up and, challenge him and all that stuff. I mean, it ended up him taking my spot, but it was for the greater good. It was for the greater good. So it all worked out. And so you were weren't you on the team that upset UCLA? Yeah. Tell me about that experience, that run.
Man, when you're in it, I didn't know much about the NCAA tournament outside of, and the seedings and, where we were at that time, but we were really good, man. Like, that was a great team and a very unexpectedly great team, because you look at our center, James Bear Barnes, who, wasn't on the Adonis scale of athletic prowess looking, but dude, the guy was a beast down on, like, the dojo was his block. Nobody messed with him down there. You had Freddie, dude, who, was very unassuming point guard, but could play, who ran it so well, man. He was the prototypical point guard. I had to learn how to play point guard, and dude, it sucked, because it's a job. and Freddie was amazing. And then you had Money. I mean, it was just, and then the role players, Mike Jennings and the guys that came off the bench.
Duran
and Tree, shoot. Yeah. So when we beat UCLA, then it became kind of real. Like I was like, God dang, man, I'm in the Carrier Dome or and watch. So it was an incredible experience. And then I just sit there and think we were one overtime away from making it to the Sweet 16. A little bittersweet. But I guess what I took away from that was, truly, we weren't a 5 blue star. Coach couldn't recruit 5 stars to Penn State at the time, right?
Right.
But dude, the 3 and walk-ons or whatever, we were beating people up, and it's because we played as a team. And I think Coach Parkhill also kind of put it that mentality of don't let people mess with you. Like that was one thing I remember about Coach is he didn't show a lot of love while we were there because he couldn't. He had to keep us moving. But I knew he was going to pick me up if I went to jail.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
I knew I was his kid, and he supported us, and he built us up. But yeah, that was probably one of the better games, better teams, because we beat. They were a 4 seed. They had 3
Don
guys.
McClain, Tracy Murray.
That point guard, I forget what his name is.
Yeah. He played in the league.
Yes. Tyus Edney, was that his name?
Tyus Edney, boom. There you
go. And the last little quip, these are how your old mind works, I guess. But man, I'll never forget going out for our shoot around. And we did it out in the Carrier Dome, and there were people watching. And the depth perception there was ridiculous. And, Parkhill always wanted us to look sharp and crisp, right? So we go out there and everybody's throwing up air balls because we cannot get the depth perception from the backboard. And, dude, I'm looking over at Coach, and his blood pressure must have been 180 over 200 over 120 because he was livid. We couldn't get the depth right because it was such a bigger place than Rec Hall, of which the other day, this all just came up. My kids saw a program and they were asking, Dad, what was Rec Hall like? I was like, well, let me go into it, because nothing like that place. There will never be anymore. I guess you still have Duke, but man.
It was definitely special because of the proximity of the fans, and you could have a conversation while you're taking the ball out of bounds. Which brings up the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because you were actually on the bench when Indiana came to town.
Yeah.
And Bobby Knight had been chirping about having to go up and had a camping trip and all that notorious game. What is your memory of that game?
By far the most charged up sporting event I'd ever been to. Because
before you go into that, the backstory is, and this is where you and I are really connected, because you played them. This is our first year in the Big Ten. You played them out in Bloomington, and it was the worst loss in Penn State history point wise.
57.
Tied with my freshman year team against David Robinson and Navy, which was, I think it was 53 points or something like that.
57.
50, okay, yeah.
I still remember, dude, because we got run in Bloomington. And when they came to our house, they were number 1, and we were 7. I think we had 6 wins, maybe at the time, or 5. I don't know. I think about that game a lot because we played out of our mind. We played great D. We played together. Duran had an incredible game. The guys that had to contribute, they contributed. I also remember Indiana did a hell of a job. I mean, they made some incredible shots.
Yeah.
That lets you know they're a number 1 team, and they had competitors on there, because when it looked like there was no way they were going to win, they
in Rec Hall with that energy.
They pulled something out of their behind. I remember being on the court and just thinking, man, this is just surreal. Because I didn't play a lot in that game because Mike Jennings was going off. He had one of the best games of his career. I remember walking home to my apartment, getting home in my apartment and laying down in bed, and my ears were still ringing. because it was so freaking loud.
Right.
Like you could not have created a better environment to pull off the biggest upset in Penn State history. It just
And then have it
out of our
snatched.
fingers, slipped out of our fingers. And I don't have it, I don't sit there and would it have been incredible? Yeah, sure, but it didn't take away from my college experience. Because
Do you remember what Coach said after the game to you guys?
I don't. Well, do you remember him in those instances? I do think he was in there like, I'm more upset that they stole it from you.
Right.
Because you guys put forth the effort and you did everything we asked you to do. I think that was always his upset. I don't think it was him or like he was mad for us.
Yeah. Yep. No, that sounds right.
Yeah. But that was that first year in the Big Ten, moving to Rec Hall, the fans, like we had the best fans in the world, even when we were in the Atlantic 10, man, and
because that league wasn't a joke either.
No,
dude. Temple, West Virginia, St. Joe's was good. Rhode Island, like I know my year, Rhode Island.
UMass.
And UMass. Oh, yeah. They were coming on.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They ended up getting candy.
Rutgers. Dude,
right.
Rutgers was like Minnesota. Whenever we walked into the Minnesota gym, by 3 minutes, we were down 20. Didn't matter. We didn't need.
Yeah, I was doing your games then. Yeah, it was always a rough go of it. But you ended up, and this goes back to just putting in the work. Q-Tip ended up getting, he was having some nagging injuries, we'll call it, and you ended up starting like I think the last 10 games, right? Your senior year,
right? Yeah, yep. I felt bad for Mike, but I wasn't gonna. I was gonna take advantage. I just tried to take advantage of everything. There are a few things, BA, dude. I really, Jesus is my homeboy. I was even a praying kid back then.
Right.
But I look back at my college career, and the thing where God really blessed me is I never got hurt. Not one. I think I never missed a game. I missed one practice because of the flu, which at that level, man, thankfully, because that gave me opportunities. The coach did not want to put me in, my sophomore year, but he had no choice. Monnie Brown was giving the fist, and I was the only guy on the bench. And when he pulled me in my first game ever, he said, "You get in there, don't turn it over, play good defense, and don't shoot it." I went in. I didn't shoot it.
You're coachable. You're very coachable. Well, I'm sure there were a lot of fond memories, but give me a couple. I guess the whole experience for me, anyway, just the whole experience, the locker room. When you talk to guys who've stopped playing, it's not specific games necessarily, but it's the bus ride, the locker room, training table, that kind of thing.
There are so many of them. I'll tell two funny ones because, again, the people are what the memories are for me. I still remember shots that were made and playing against Glenn Robinson and, the incredible guys that I got to play against. We played 2 out of the 4 national players of the year. But, Indiana was an incredible memory. Our parties were incredible memories. No,
can't do that now.
I
look back on that and go, man, thank goodness there were no camera phones. And
no joke.
That was.
We would have been getting bailed out of jail by Parkhill, right?
No doubt.
But gosh, it was probably winning the A-10 championship because I remember that night pretty vividly.
George Washington.
Yeah, when they, stormed the floor, and I remember that moment. I remember my senior year, John Amici and Matt Gaudio and I were captains. Okay. And we just lost to somebody we shouldn't have lost. And you remember those film sessions the next day? It was just like extracting molars. And, Parkhill's just ripping on us the whole time. And this day he was like, you know what? I'm not going to get mad at all of you. I'm going to get mad at you, and you. And he looked at me and Michi, and because we were the captains, he goes, because you guys don't get these guys ready. I'm just sick of it. Get out there. Does that. Me and Amici have to go take a leak before we go out on the floor. And as we're sitting in there at the urinals, Amici takes a deep breath and he goes, buddy, it's hard being middle management. Dude, I'll never forget that. I don't know why. The other was going to Morgantown or Huntington, West Virginia.
Morgantown is where West Virginia is.
Okay. Where's Huntington is?
Marshall, right?
Marshall. I think we were going to play Marshall.
Oh, okay.
One of the two. West Virginia.
Okay.
In that remember, you see the charters they fly now?
Yes.
I mean,
I've flown in them.
I'm surprised Penn State didn't give me life insurance to jump on those planes they used to throw us.
Those buses with wings we used to fly on.
Oh, my gosh. Well, when we're flying into West Virginia, somebody warned me because it was my first time flying in there. The turbulence when you go in there because the hills are horrible. Well, I'm sitting next to Mike Jennings up front. He's afraid to fly. And as we're in this tin cup plane, and this thing is just, when it's like a roller coaster going like this. And all I see is Mike with his hoodie around his head like this. And he's going, every bump, he's going, oh, Lord, Jesus, help me. Oh, Lord, help me. Yeah, those are the things I remember, not 10 points or my career high at Michigan. I remember these ridiculous things with the guys, man.
Yep. I'm the same way. So yeah, I appreciate the time, man, and love you to death. Always good to catch up. And just keep in touch and tell give Corey a big hug for me and give the boys a pound.
I will. Hey, two things, man. Number one, thank you for doing this because it just generates great memories. Yeah. And the other thing, dude, is I love you, bro. You have to know how special you are to the basketball team. Well, Penn State in general, because it takes people that are willing. It's a gifting of yours. I've noticed it, but you keep people together.
I try.
That's huge. It's huge. It doesn't go unnoticed, bro.
I appreciate that. No, I apprate that.
But I love you.
Yep. I love you back, and it's good to be away because it makes me think fondly of it, and not I don't want to be here. But it's been good watching. Have you had a chance, real quick? Have you had a chance to watch the current team?
Yes.
What your thoughts?
Yeah, what is also cool is the younger generation. We have they let me into their little text message thread. There's probably 10, 12 guys, Calvin Booth, Dana Fritz, Dan Earl, Pete Lasicki, Jarrett Stevens. We got to get you on there because it's fun to listen to all this. But we've been doing a lot of chatter on there. And Shrew, I think he's going to be a great dude to take the baton. We had also mentioned how great it is to put the students behind the visitors bench.
So
there's little moves that make it exciting. The talent, dude, now is there. So
it's been fun. The product that he has out there. You know what I like about? Were you in on that call when he first got hired with the alumni?
Yep.
And he said, Bruce Blake asked him, what his offensive philosophy was, and he said he didn't have one. He just builds it around his talent, and you can see, like last year, for example. And I'm not a coach and never will be. I don't have their kind of knowledge, but I never understood why college coaches don't take advantages of mismatches like the NBA does. And I noticed last year, Shue was with Pickett, he was, they probably won 5-6 games just by taking advantage of mismatches. This year, they're so much more dynamic. So you can see that with the talent he has. And the other thing it seems like is he's not complaining about the transfer portal because it's not going away. He's using it to his advantage, almost like a general manager in the pros,
And you have to, man. That's one thing. I've got old man syndrome because I hate the transfer portal.
Yeah. I get it.
Committed dudes, all that stuff. I think the other thing that Shrew's doing, I think that Pat Chambers did an incredible job, is keeping us involved. To make the alumni feel like they're a part. Like that fosters a lot of goodwill, number one, but it encourages us to encourage them. So he started off well there, I think. So yeah, I think good things for Penn State basketball.
Yeah, and we'll get to see him this afternoon. I catch every game that even on I have to get the ESPN Plus games, but that's okay.
Hey, bro, in the spring, you need to put that bike helmet on and ride from St. Petersburg to Austin, man.
I will fly my bicycles out to ride around in that town. And because it was, I came out there doing my recon on where I was going to live. And Austin was definitely one of the spots because I love it so much. St. Pete is almost exactly the same. We just have a little more water. Like the sports scene, the music scene, the beautiful weather. But I just had more real estate contacts in Florida. So,
bro,
I'll get out there.
Best decision you made was to move with
yeah. I'm definitely in my happy place, and I have an embarrassment of riches of sunshine. So I'm definitely happy. Well, you have a happy new year again. Give Corey some love for me, and give the boys a pound.
I will, man.
All right, man. Love you, brother.
Thanks.
Take care, man. See ya.